Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 20th, and right now we are looking at the windy app here, and you can clearly see the battleground between the warm air moving out of the southwest across the Seattle metro this morning. They brought some rainfall, now switching to snow for some areas in North Seattle. As we switch this back to a north flow across the area, it's going to continue to move down the sound as we go through late this morning, afternoon. But look up towards southwest BC, Bellingham, very cold air in place. Fraser River outflow still going as we speak. Pressure gradients are up towards 20 millibars between Williams Lake and Bellingham at the moment here, and there's some totals up over a foot towards 2 feet for some southwest BC here. No snow yet across downtown Seattle or south, but that may be changing here as we go through the later morning hours. We'll take a look at what the model runs have to say about that coming up here. Now, taking a look here at the infrared satellite imagery, you can see that system moving through the area today. And you can see the moisture will be coming to an end. Even though we're going to get that cold air spreading down the Puget Sound, the moisture will be wrapping up here. So maybe in a couple additional inches across some of the central sound as we go through the late morning into the afternoon hours. Taking a look across BC and Canada, you can see the very cold temperatures in place. Our Arctic air still pouring out over the ocean there. I'm going to turn pretty cold here as we go through Wednesday and Thursday. We'll take a look at what could potentially happen with that setup here later through this week. Taking a look at the European, which, by the way, pretty much nailed the forecast there yesterday. It was underdoing some of the snowfall that was falling last night, but as we go through the morning, it does show the potential for some snowfall moving down across mainly downtown north, but SeaTac might pick up an inch or so. You might see some flakes flying in the south down there as well, but pretty good job by the European, maybe underdoing some of the snowfall totals up here across the northwest interior and southwest BC, but overall, the placement of the warm air, it did quite well. Now taking a look at the NAM3KM here, it shows this cold air moving down as we go through later this morning across Seattle down towards SeaTac, maybe a couple inches down towards SeaTac if you believe the NAM, but pretty good model agreement between the NAM and the Euro for some flakes around the South Sound as well. But the further you go down the I-5 corridor, the less snow you're going to get, and big snows for the mountains coming up here. And I got to remind you, this is just for, this is starting Tuesday morning, so it really isn't going to show the big totals that fell up across Southwest BC on this NAM run here. So taking a look here at the HER, this is from about this point on. You can see additional snowfall, mainly Seattle north. According to the HER, it doesn't really show much for SeaTac or Tacoma, Federal Way, Olympia, if you believe the HER model here, but the NAM and the European do show some down through the South Sound, just not very much. Here's the high-resolution Canadian model. If we put this into motion, you can see that northerly flow coming down, shows better amounts towards SeaTac, even Federal Way, Tacoma area getting a little bit of snowfall as well. So this is what's coming. We're bringing that northerly flow down the sound here. That cold air will arrive, but then we're going to be running out of moisture as it does arrive here as we go through the early afternoon hours. This is the European total snow Kuchera. Also a little bit wider look at things here. You can see there is going to be additional snowfall for places eastern Washington, Oregon as well, Idaho, Montana as we go on in. Now watch what happens as we go to Wednesday. Another shot of snowfall for eastern Washington, eastern Oregon getting on the action a little bit here as well as you go on in through Thursday night into Friday morning. So more additional snowfall is incoming, especially east of the Cascades, outside of the rain/snow shadow there, east of the Cascade Mountains there. But Spokane, Pullman, looking at some pretty good snowfall totals here coming up through the end of this week. Taking a look here at the 10-meter wind speed on the European. So you can see what happened last night. The southerlies did come up the Puget Sound, as the European was saying. Northerlies coming here across Bellingham, moisture overspreading this very cold air here through the northwest interior, southwest BC. Plenty of snowfall up there to be had. And then you can see the push of the northerly winds coming down the Puget Sound here. How far will this get? How much moisture will it have to work with before we finally cut off that moisture? It's still yet to be seen down across downtown Seattle, SeaTac, and Tacoma. But call ahead later this morning and afternoon if you are flying out of SeaTac for sure, if it is snowing out there especially. Now, we got to call out the UW GFS model a little bit here. This was showing as of about 9 a.m. here across the region. You can see plenty of areas it was showing is going to have, 4+ inches of snow across Seattle down towards SeaTac as well, Kitsap Peninsula. None of this materialized here, folks. This was not a very good showing here from the UW model. Unfortunately, the European just absolutely beat it up here in the snow prediction across the Puget Sound. So just had to point that out there. Now taking a look here, we've got 2-meter temperature. I want to show you this cold front coming down across the USA here. Look at this moving down towards Texas. We're going to go ahead and look at this stretch all the way out across the East Coast here. So pretty interesting setup coming here. This is the cold air that's been dealing with us, and this is going to stretch all the way down across the East Coast and across into the Gulf of Mexico here by the time you go into Friday afternoon. Let's see what it looks like here if we check out the snowfall potential here. There goes the front coming, some rain along the East Coast, then this very powerful cold front digging down across the region here. It doesn't look like a big snowstorm maker here for the immediate East Coast here, but across some of the Great Lake area here, it looks like it's a pretty good storm shown there. And you can see our icing potential coming up here, which we're going to look at here in a moment. This is for Eugene, the cross section here. I got some positive feedback on showing this, but you can see the cold air that gets trapped here as we go through Wednesday night all the way into Friday morning for Eugene. And you can imagine the warmer air aloft dropping some rain into this sub-freezing layer here and causing that freezing rain there. The potential for the Willamette Valley does exist. This is for Portland, going to be even colder there, and you can see this nose of warm air above the sub-freezing layer, rain falling through that layer at about 2,000 feet there and freezing. So that freezing rain threat goes, about Thursday night, Friday morning, all the way into potentially Saturday morning, and this is the European. It's as far out as it goes Friday afternoon here, but the sub-freezing layer is probably going to hang on until about Saturday morning down there for Portland. We'll continue to watch that system as we go through this week. Here's Seattle, Tacoma, a little bit of warm air above some sub-freezing temperatures here too as we go on in through Friday morning. So there is a potential for some freezing rain across some of the Puget Sound area too. We'll be watching that closely as well. And you can see how cold we're going to get here as we drop down below freezing tonight and probably remain there for Wednesday and Thursday before we start to warm up as we go on into later Friday evening. This is for Bellingham. You can see it's going to remain below freezing, very cold out there, all the way probably until Friday afternoon at the earliest across the Northwest Interior. We'll continue to watch that too and see what kind of transition we're going to have as we bring some moisture back into the region up there. Now, Spokane, you can see maybe a little bit of freezing rain as we go on in through later on this weekend here, but bitter cold temperatures here coming up here, as you can see on the cross temperature profile, which, by the way, this is 5,000 feet right here at 850 millibars there. And the surface down here is about, 2,000 feet or so for Spokane. But you can see bitterly cold temperatures. Then the warm-up is coming here, folks. We got a big pattern change coming on in through Christmas across much of the Pacific Northwest. Taking a look at Boise here, we're going to crash down and get pretty chilly here. And then maybe a little bit of snowfall as we go through tonight probably and tomorrow morning, I think it was for Boise out there. But then you can plainly see the warm up coming here. Not a lot of snowfall expected out there for Boise. However, now freezing rain in inches. Let's take a look. We talked about this freezing rain potential out here. Let's go ahead and scroll all the way towards Thursday night. You can see it start to creep up Thursday night into Friday morning now, impacting some of the Willamette Valley, Portland area, all the way up towards Seattle. 1/10 of an inch would start to cause some problems, especially on aircraft surfaces. So heads up if you are flying out during the day on Friday. Call ahead, watch out, pay attention to the weather out there. Look at Olympia getting some decent icing, Southwest Washington as well. Doesn't show it being too bad up here across some of the Northwest Interior. Probably it's going to be snowing for a while as the cold air will be deeper the further you go north there. We'll continue to watch how this setup unfolds here as we go through this week. Now, winter precipitation, this kind of gives you a cross-section profile here of snow. You've got freezing all the way through the column of the atmosphere. Snowflakes never melt. Sleet, you're going from snow, a little bit of melting, and then refreezing, and you get ice pellets and whatnot as they clank along the surface there. Freezing rain, you've got you got a pretty good warm layer here, and so you've melted all the way. It turns back to rain, and then you've got that surface layer that is below freezing here. So when it lands on houses, trees, cars, roads, power lines, it refreezes there. And rain, of course, just can be snow or rain up there, and it melts, and it never refreezes because you're above freezing at the surface there. So freezing rain out there, yeah, it is very dangerous. It can cause power outages, weigh down trees, damage vegetations, all kinds of stuff. So that's what we're going to be looking at later on through this week coming up here. And taking a look at the extended here briefly, this is the European last night's run here, 500 millibars. You can see our system finally move out of the area there. Then the Pacific system kind of moves through here as we go through Saturday night, Friday morning, bringing that potential for some freezing rain. But then you'll see we'll stay fairly active here as we get some systems kind of clipping the area there. And we're going to bring that trough across the Gulf of Alaska here and continue to rotate systems through the Pacific Northwest. And we have, there's going to be windstorm potential, maybe atmospheric river potential as we go on into the extended portion Ocean late December on into the New Year's here, but we have plenty of time to break down all those systems as we go here as well. Total precipitation, just a sneak peek out here. This is a 10-day period here going off into later this week with that icing potential shown there with that precipitation, still some snow up north. But then we turn warmer here and we start to bring more Pacific Ocean systems across the region here, and we get quite wet across much of the Pacific Northwest, as you can see, potentially all the way down through Northern California here, all the way along the BC coast up towards Southeast Alaska here. A return to regular weather here across Pacific Northwest is probably in the cards here as we go through later December. And this is also going out there today. I wanted to point this out, a little bit of patchy light freezing rain across some of the area of southwest Oregon there. Might include some portions of I-5 as well. Snow in the mountains, heads up for that. Now taking a look here, look at this Lake Williams to Bellingham gradient up towards 20 millibars right now. Pretty good push coming through the Fraser River Gap as we speak right now. And you can see Astoria is still a little bit higher than Seattle. So we're still getting that onshore flow, at least through southern Washington right now. Portland, Bellingham. Portland is higher than Bellingham at this point right now, so that's why you're still getting the south winds going up the Puget Sound, for example. And Olympia is actually lower pressure than Bellingham right now, so there's kind of a northerly push that's coming down the Puget Sound, and that's shown there because now we're increasing this gradient back up a little bit here after relaxing it a bit this morning here. And you can see well off to the Oregon coast there, it is higher pressure towards Seattle. So kind of a general south flow across much of the state of Oregon there. That's a nice graphic I like to look at here, a nice data feed here from the National Weather Service. But anyway, yeah, you can see that battleground going on here, and I'll scroll through this one more time. You can see that colder air overtake the region there from north to south as we go through. So anything on the roads tonight is going to freeze overnight. So heads up for that. Even down towards, Centralia here, this cold air is really going to move down as we move through tonight, and eventually on to tomorrow morning, it's going to really overtake much of southwest Washington, even down towards Portland, coastal range of Oregon, maybe just the immediate Washington, Oregon coast there up against the ocean will remain above freezing here. But you can see we're going to get pretty chilly here as we go through Wednesday and Thursday, then setting up that freezing rain potential event as we go. So anyway, yeah, kind of disappointing for Seattle. Some of the models were calling for some big snowfall totals here, but we talked about that last night, and some of the high resolution models showed that surge getting all the way up towards Everett, which it pretty much did. The European was showing it as well, and the GFS and some of the UW-GFS models were keeping that south wind very limited down here south of Seattle, which did not occur. So if you wonder why we look at the European the most here, or why I do, that is the reason, folks. It dominated again last night here, but there's still some snow potential. Don't let your guard down today. It's going to get cold around Seattle, and we're going to bring that snow down from the north. You'll see the wind switch to the north and kind of bring some snow as that precipitation is coming to an end today across the central Puget Sound. So anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying it. Those of you guys are getting snow right now, especially up north, and be prepared for those cold temperatures coming Wednesday, Thursday. We'll watch that freezing rain event as we come up here. Thanks to all my new members, all my new subscribers. The live feeds are really fun. We'll continue to do it this winter. We'll flirt with some more cold air at some point. I'm pretty sure we'll watch the windstorms and atmospheric rivers roll in the rest of this season as well. But anyway, yeah, so I'll just go ahead and do another briefing tomorrow morning as per usual. We'll watch this next system roll in here. And if you guys are seeing anything cool on Twitter with the snowfall across Seattle this morning and afternoon, send it to me over there. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.